Hello and welcome, Candice Oneida here. In this week's episode from my balcony here in Oakland, California, I want to give you 3 tips for how to embody feminine power. So firstly, what is embodiment? Well, simply, this means feeling power and energy in your body. It also means feeling powerful in a woman's body and a woman's life, valuing your womanness, your femininity. It's important to know that embodiment isn't about belief or thinking about power. It is about experiencing the power inside yourself, in your body, inside your life force, inside you, basically. Gloria Steinem, that great advocate of feminine rights, female rights from way back in the 60s, in her movie Misrepresentation, told us that young girls are taught to view their bodies as unending projects that they need to work on, whereas little boys are taught to view their bodies as tools in which to master their environment. So how has this come about? You know, we've really been educated as women and as young women to see our bodies as something that has problems. Like, the body is problematic. And there's a lot of self-sabotage that I see women do around their body and their bodies. So how has this come about? Well, it's my observation that women view their body as something in and of itself needs improvement constantly. Now, adornment is one thing, as in enjoying the adornment of the body, but the need to constantly improve it and tweak it and hone it and perfect it is something very symptomatic of how the feminine and how female embodiment is viewed in our time. We are viewed to see that there is something inherently wrong with our body. And if it's wrong with our body because it's a female body, there's something wrong with being female, with the feminine. If you think about it, we view our cycles, our period, as a problem, as something that, you either don't want to talk about, or it's painful, or it's something to be embarrassed about. And then we end up in menopause and we hate that too. There's no win here. There's no embracing of what the female body experiences. And when we look at these sort of low-level or low-hanging fruit, like things like our period and our cycle, then we're not actually experiencing the incredible and innate power that's held within a female body form. Now, it's a little surprising in lots of ways that this is still going on in, the 2000s, in the 21st century, but it is still going on. In some ways, since Gloria Steinem's time, where it was called out that there is not equality here, and we know there was lots of injustice and inequality in the 60s, in the 50s, that was being called out. But the strange thing is, even though it's said on the outside now that there is equality, there isn't. And it's worse in a way because the insidious lack of equality, lack of enjoying and valuing deeply feminine, female, women's values, that's even more insidious in my view, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to read this section to you because I want to make sure I get the statistics really right. Now, right now, women's bodies are in hormonal breakdown in epidemic proportions. 20 million women in the US alone suffer from endometriosis, fibroids, and have ovarian cysts. In 2009, $1.42 billion was spent on infertility treatments for women. Female-specific cancers have increased 60% since the 1960s. And you've heard me say that that is commensurate with when women entered the workforce, when women entered the male-dominated paradigms of the working world, right? Drugs are being prescribed left and right for the treatment of things that don't need symptomatic treatment. We need to be getting to the cause of these problems and the cause of why there's all of these outward symptoms happening for women. The cause is the lack of love, ownership, and embodiment of our feminine power. Now, this is not to mention the statistics on plastic surgery in women that's been increasing since the 1970s. Breast enhancements, nipping this off, taking this off, improving this. God forbid you should be aging gracefully. And then one of the worst ones for me is what's called labioplasty, which is where women are actually getting their labia cut down to look like it's smaller or better or more perfectly shaped. I have a personal concern for this. There's a whole arena out there called FGM, female genital mutilation, that happens culturally in Africa. This is now happening in the West. People are volunteering to cut their female organs. Now this is symptomatic of this lack of love and embracing of our feminine form. En masse, women of our modern time have lost touch with the innate power, beauty, reverence, altar that the female form is. This wasn't always like this for women. Way back, the feminine and female form was literally an altar on which things were offered in ancient temples. We've lost touch with this love and adoration of our body and our lady parts, and it has to stop. And it starts with you. You have to start doing this for yourself. You know, the thing I always say at the end of my videos is, when you have the courage to come out and shine, you give other people to do the same. This is what this is about. One person at a time. This is why I do these videos. Let's learn to, in community as women, bring forth these feminine values back into the world. Okay, so I promised you 3 tips, and I'm finally getting to the 3 tips. So these 3 tips for how to embody your feminine power. The first tip is self-care. Now, we need to start with self-care. It's often called radical self-care out there in the modern world because there's not normal self-care, so it's suddenly called radical self-care. I would love to take radical out of this equation and just make it self-care. It's deemed as if there's something wrong if you're taking care of yourself, of your body, of your health. You kind of do it, you know, in an embarrassed way. You slot it in between other things. You slot it in between taking care of the kids, and you squeeze in exercise between doing other things for other people, and, you know, you squeeze in a decent meal, you juice something up. It's not quite what I'm talking about. What I'm referring to is self-care that brings you back into relationship to yourself, your body, your sense of taking care of this form here. Now, self-care, if done well, leads to the experiences of pleasure. There's plenty of ways to self-care where pleasure is the experience that comes from it. Our body as a woman is built for pleasure. The clitoris in a female form has 8,000 nerve endings on it. It is literally the only organ in a human body that is built for pleasure alone. Nobody has been able to find any other reason there are 8,000 nerve endings on the clitoris other than it is for and is built for pleasure. Number 2, movement. I say this quite a lot as an important part of feminine power. This moving around sensually and fully and confidently in your body as your queen, as you stand in your divine right as your queen in this life, in this body. There is this sort of ability to move around in the body that comes with this innate sense of enjoyment of what it feels like to be in your body, what it feels like to move her around. Whether it's dance or ecstatic dance or yoga or just the way you strut your way down the street during the week, I want you to start to feel this week what it feels like to move around confidently and feel good in your body. It actually starts with you deciding to feel good in your body, not that you feel good because you look a certain way or something's happened. And the third way in which to embody feminine power, it is often called gut instinct. Now, when you enter my world and my trainings and work with me, I call this pussy brain. We have head brain, as in the way you think and rationalize and strategize things, and then we have the instinctual, the know-how, this instinctive, earthy, deep pussy know-how, okay? Now, if you know by now that this embodiment, this owning of your pussy, your lady parts, is an important part of my world, then if it's news to you, welcome to the realm of pussy brain. I call it pussy brain a little bit jokingly, but there is a type of thinking, there's a type of knowing, there's a type of action that you can take from listening to and adhering to her opinion of things, which is often different to this opinion of things. So as an exercise, I'm going to get you this week to go, okay, go and ask head brain, okay, what it wants to do right now. So you go, head brain, what do you want right now? And head brain will answer the question. And then you're going to go, okay, pussy, what do you want right now? And you may very well be surprised by the answer, my dear. So I would love to get your response to that exercise and the other two of the tips this week below the video. I love getting your feedback and your questions. I'd love you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm also very active in the channel, so if you have any questions, please post any questions. I'm in there and I will answer your questions willingly. I'm here to educate you and to get you back into your pussy feminine brain power. And remember, when you have courage to go out there and shine this week, you give others permission to do the same. So have a great week, and I will see you in next week's episode.